money market hedge. Money market hedge is a method of hedging the foreign exchange risk. So we have two different types of risk hedging strategies. It is classified as internal hedging strategy and external hedging strategies. So under the external hedging strategy, we have derivatives, and here we have a money market hedging strategy. So money market hedging is a part of a external hedging strategy. So it is an alternative method of hedging the risk It is an alternative method to other methods of hedging, like under the derivatives we have forward, futures, options and swap. Apart from these hedging strategies, we use the strategy like a money market hedge to cover the risk involved in the forex market. So now, how does a money market hedge works? So according to money market hedging, you need to keep certain points in mind. Here, if you have a future liability, which means if you have a future payables, then here we need to create an asset. We need to create an asset in foreign exchange. In the foreign exchange, if you have a future liability, then here you have to create an asset in foreign currency or in a foreign exchange. Second important point to be remembered here is, if you have a future asset or a receivable, then you have to create liability. You have to create liability in foreign exchange. So the rule to hedge the risk under money market hedging, the strategy what we use here is, if you have a future liability, future payables, so here this liability, future payables that arises in case of imports, then you have to create an asset in the foreign currency or in a foreign exchange. Now, if you have a future asset, here this particular case arises when we have a export. So here in this case, you have to create liability in the foreign exchange or in a foreign currency. So what is the main objective here in case of money market hedging? So the main objective is to arrange the transaction in such a manner that on the due date there should not be any cash flows from one country to the other country. So let us understand the money market hedging strategy through an example, how this entire strategy is going to work out and how one can hedge the forex risk using money market hedging. So here is an example of a money market hedging. The question number 1. Purchased asset on 1st July 2017 for $1 lakh, amount to be settled on 31st December 2017. Interest rates prevailing in India 10% and 12%, in USA 5% and 6%. 6 months forward rate available on 1st July 2017 is $1 equals to rupees 66.40 to rupees 67.60. Spot rate on 1st July 2017 is $1 equals to rupees 64 to rupees 65. You are required to determine the net gain or net loss that will result from money market hedge as compared to hedging through forward exchange rate. So if you read the question here, let us say an Indian importer, he has purchased on 1st July 2017 a commodity worth $1 lakh. And here the settlement that is to be made on 31st December 2017. So Indian importer has imported goods worth $1 lakh from US. So here it is clear that as an Indian importer, you are liable to pay $1 lakh to US exporter, and that payment is made on 31st December 2017 after 6 months. So credit period is 6 months. So while reading this point, it is clear that here you have a future liability. You have a future liability. So what we need to understand under money market hedging, the rule number 1 here is, if you have a future liability in foreign currency, that is here dollar, then we need to create an asset. Then we need to create an asset in foreign currency. You need to create an asset in a foreign currency. So what do you mean by asset creation in foreign exchange or in a foreign currency? Creating an asset, it means depositing some money in the foreign country. So you have to deposit something in the foreign country, that is in the US. And at what rate you are going to deposit, and how this entire process is going to be happen, that we'll discuss. So for depositing purpose, here we have given some interest rates. Interest rate that prevailing in India, 10% and 12%. Now what this 10% represent, and what about this 12%? So 10%, it is the depositing rate. If you invest in India, if you deposit your money in Indian bank, then the banks will offer a interest rate of 10%. And what is this 12%? So here 12%, it is the borrowing rate. If you would like to borrow from Indian banks, then the loans are provided at this 12% rate. Borrowing rate is always higher than the deposit rate. So coming to the interest rate in US, 5% is the deposit rate and 6% is the borrowing rate. At this rate you can borrow, and at this rate you can deposit. So in addition to that, we have given the 6 months forward rate. So forward rate, it is a rate which is available for buying and selling the foreign currency in the future. So we have provided the 6 months forward. After 6 months, that is 6 months forward rate, it is the quoted rate 66.40 and 67.60. Here 66.40, it is the bid rate, and here 67.6 is the ask rate. Bid rate, it is a rate at which banks buys the foreign currency, and ask rate, it is the rate at which banks sells the foreign currency. And then also we have provided the spot rate. It is $1 equals to 64 to 65. Here also 64 is the bid rate and 65 is the ask rate. So first of all, here you have to determine the net loss or gain that will result from the money market hedge. So as I told you earlier, under money market hedging, if you have a future liability, then you have to create an asset. So this is the case of having future liability. you have a future liability. That means this is the importer case. We are talking from the importer's point of view. So when we talk from the importer's point of view, we should know what exactly our net cash outflows. Okay, we are concentrating on the cash outflows. Importer, he has the liability to pay. Making payment, it is a cash outflow. So you should find out what is your cash outflow under money market hedging as well as under forward hedging strategy. So coming to the money market hedging strategy. So point number 1, here it is clear that importer purchased goods worth $1 lakh from US. So here it is clear that purchasing, it is a liability. There is a liability to pay. So money market hedge, it says that the rule of money market hedge is that if you have a liability, future liability in a foreign currency, then create an asset in foreign currency, that is dollar. So as I explained, creating an asset means depositing money in the US. So here what we are going to do, we can take it in step number 2, to create asset means the importer, Indian importer, has to deposit money in US. So you should deposit some money. You should invest some money in United States. So how you are going to do? Here, what is your liability? What is the amount to be paid after 6 months? The amount to be paid after 6 months is dollar 1 lakh. So after 6 months, you should have dollar 1 lakh with you. So what you're going to do now at present to get the same 1 lakh dollar after 6 months, you deposit some money in United States. After 6 months, you should get dollar 1 lakh. Now to get 1 lakh after 6 months, how much amount that should be invested today? So your maturity value, that deposit amount maturity value, that should be equal or that should be matched with the liability value dollar 1 lakh. And to get 1 lakh after 6 months, today you have to decide what is the amount you are going to invest. So you are clearly knows that dollar 1 lakh, that is the liability. Now when you create an asset, that deposit money which means the maturity value of the investment should match with the liability value dollar 1 lakh. And today you have to decide the amount of investment. How much you are going to invest in United States. Now to get the amount of investment, in United States, here we have to find out the present value of a future liability. Present value of a future liability. So how to find the present value of a future liability? How to get the amount of investment? It is the unknown amount. And here we have to find out the amount of investment. Here the present value of a future liability or the amount to be invested in United States is equals to you know actually what is the amount you are going to get after 6 months, and you also know what is the amount you are going to pay, what is your liability, and that much amount you should get after 6 months. It is clearly known. So here it is a future liability, future payments divided by 1 plus the interest rate. 1 plus interest rate. So now, what is your future liability? You know that $1 lakh is the future liability. This is the amount what you're going to pay, what you're going to settle after 6 months, and the same amount you should get to set off that liability from years after 6 months. Now to get this, today how much amount you have to invest? So here, for that reason, we find the present value. So divide that by 1 plus interest. Interest rate. Which interest rate you have to consider? So we have given many interest rates. Interest rates in India and interest rate in USA. Now, you are very clear that here you are going to invest in United States. You are depositing money in United States. So you have to consider the interest rate of United States for the purpose of a present value calculation. Again, when it comes to the United States interest, we have given two different rates, 5% and 6%. As I told you, 5% is the deposit rate and 6% is the borrowing rate. Now, what is your action? What you are going to do in United States? You are depositing. So, when you deposit, what is the rate offered by the United States Bank? So, interest rate offered for the deposit is a 5%. So, you have to consider 5%. So, here is the interest rate is given for an annum, per year. But we are going to receive the money after 6 months. So you are just depositing your money for a period of 6 months. So while computing the present value, here is the interest. In the place of interest, it is 5%. Interest rate of the United States, that is the deposit rate of the United States, divided by 100 into 6/12. So here comes the present value, $1 lakh. $1 lakh divided by 1.025. So 97,560.975 you have to deposit today in United States. So what is the present value? $97,560.975. It is the amount of investment or the present value of all future liability or future cash flows. Now, let us think that, let us have one question. Do you have $97,560.975 with you? You are in India now. To hedge the risk, you have gone for a money market hedging strategy. Under the money market hedging strategy, if you have a liability, you have to create the asset, you have to deposit money in foreign currency. Now you are clear about the amount of investment, how much amount you have to invest. That is $97,560. Do you have this much of dollars with you? So here you don't have a $97,560 with you. Now you need to arrange for $97,560.975. You have to arrange where? In India. In India you have to arrange in your domestic country. So how you are going to do that? How you are going to make the arrangement? To get this much dollar, how much rupee you have to pay to the Indian bank? What is the amount that need to be paid to get $97,560.975? So here arranging means we have to buy the dollars after giving Indian rupee. So you have to buy today. So here the process is, you don't have a dollars with you, you go to the Indian bank and you buy $97,560.975. At what rate you buy? At the spot rate. At the spot rate. Now, what is your spot rate? So we have given the spot rate $64 to 65 rupees. So 64 is the bid rate. It is the rate at which bank buy the foreign currency, and 65 is the rate at which banks sells the foreign currency. Now at what rate you buy? You buy the dollar. You are buying the dollar. It means bank is selling the dollars. Bank is selling the foreign currency. So at what rate banks sell the foreign currency? So banks sell the foreign currency always at a ask rate. It always sell at a high, that is here 65. So 65 is the spot rate that should be considered for the conversion. So rupees 65 at a spot rate, rupees 65 per dollar. So you buy from Indian bank. So now to buy this $97,560.975, what is the Indian rupee you have to pay? That we can find out. The Indian rupee required, or the Indian rupee required is $97,560.975 into rupees 65. So Indian rupee required is rupees 63 lakh 41,463.375. This is the Indian rupee required. So this much amount of rupee you have to pay to the Indian bank, and after paying 63,41,463 rupees, the bank will give you $97,560.975. So now, let us say you don't have this much of money, 63,41,463.375 rupees. You don't have with you. So what you're going to do? You are going to borrow money from the Indian banks. So you will go forward, you will go one more step here to arrange. Now you have to arrange for rupees 63,41,463.375 rupees in India. In India, you have to arrange because you want dollars for the deposit. To get dollars, you should have this much amount with you. Now you don't have this much amount with you, so here you go for arranging 63,41,463 rupees. And what is the arrangement here? To get this 63,41,463, you should borrow, or you go for borrowing. Here you should borrow rupees 63,41,463.375 rupees. From where you have to borrow? You have to borrow from the Indian bank. At what rate you are going to borrow? You are borrowing here in India, and the interest offered here is 10% and 12%. 10% is the deposit rate, 12% is a borrowing rate. So you will borrow at a 12%. So this amount is borrowed at 12% interest rate. So now, after time period of 6 months, what is your maturity value? What is the amount that you are going to pay here in India? You have borrowed money today at 12%. Now, at a time period of 6 months, a time period of 6 months, maturity value of a liability. Maturity value of a liability is, see here what you get. You go for borrowing money. Yes, now you have money. And what you're going to do? You get the 63,41,463 rupees. And once again you go to the bank for the conversion. You'll convert at this rate, 65. And then you get $97,560. Then this amount is invested in the US bank. But after 6 months, what is your maturity value of liability in India? How much amount you have to pay ultimately to the bank? That is the principal amount rupees 63,41,463.375. This is the one. And in addition to that, you have to pay the interest for 6 months. So 6 months interest. 63,41,460. 3.375 into 12% into 6 by 12, 6 months interest. So this will come up to 3,80,487.803. So your total liability after 6 months, your total liability or total cash outflow under money market hedge will be, it will be 63,41,463.375. So it is rupees 67,951.178. So this is your total cash outflow, total liability under money market hedging. So this is here the value. Now here it is asked that what is your net loss or gain that will result from money market hedge as compared to hedging through the forward. So we have to see what is the cash outflow, what is the future liability, even in case of a forward hedging strategy. So let us find out the cash outflow under forward hedging strategy. So here comes the forward hedging strategy. So under the forward hedging strategy, here we have two parties. One is the importer in our example and another one is the banker. So there is an agreement between the importer and the bank. So importer, today he will go to the bank and he will ask the banker to quote a forward rate, to quote a 6 months forward rate. So we have a 6 months forward rate. It is quoted by the bank 66.40 and 67.60. So here what happens, after 6 months, this importer will go to the bank and he will buy the foreign currency at the quoted forward rate. Importer goes the bank and he buy the foreign currency, that is dollar. So here importer buy dollar. How much? Here the liability is a 1 lakh. He has to pay 1 lakh. So he should have 1 lakh. He should buy 1 lakh dollars at, buy $1 lakh at the forward rate, that is he will buy at 67.60. It is a rate at which banks sell the foreign currency or the party buys the foreign currency. So party will buy the foreign currency at a higher rate, that is 67.60. So here comes rupees 67.60 per dollar. So in this case, at the maturity period, that is at a time period of 6 months, here the maturity value after 6 months, the amount of cash outflow, under forward contract, and a forward contract will be $1 lakh into rupees 67.60. So this will be rupees 67,60,000. This is the cash outflow under the forward contract. So we have the cash outflows under money market hedge as rupees 67,21,951.178 rupees, and as under forward contract it is rupees 67,60,000. So comparing these two hedging strategies, it is preferred to adopt the money market hedging strategy. So under money market hedging strategy, the cash outflow after 6 months, it will be rupees 67,21,951.178. It is comparatively less than the forward. So if you go for this money market hedging strategy, your net gain will be, the advantage will be rupees 67,60,000 minus rupees 67,21,951.178. So ultimately the net gain is rupees 38,000. $48.822 rupees. This is the net gain that will result from money market hedge. So net gain from money market hedge will be 67,60,000 minus 67,21,951.178. So this is the net gain value. So if you have a liability under money market hedging strategy, if you have a liability, you have to create the asset. Creating asset means depositing money in the foreign banks. To deposit money, you have to arrange for the foreign currency in India, and in order to arrange for the foreign currency, you go for borrowing money in the domestic country, and after all you have to see that what is your maturity value at the end of the contract under the money market hedging, and compare this with the forward hedging strategy. Under the forward hedging strategy, we use the forward rate, and which one you feel the less cash outflows, that will be taken as the best strategy for risk hedging.